Yay.
And again, generally I have recordings pre-done for all of this stuff, but I decided to do a special one here. So the pattern I'm looking at is this one right here. And I want to use a spreadsheet to help me build this table right here so I can get up to the 10. And a spreadsheet is a calculator, so it's going to be a fun thing to do. So stages I have to work with are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to jump over to the 10th stage. A couple ways I can do this are just write what I have. Like I looked at the first stage and saw 2, enter. I looked at the second stage and I saw 6 squares, enter. I looked at the third stage and I saw, what was that one, 12? Yeah. Now the fourth stage wasn't given, I had to calculate that. And we calculated that by doing a multiplication because we expected to see a 5 or 4 by 5 grid, right? So based on what we saw here, right, this was a 1 by 2 grid, this was a 2 by 3 grid, this was a 3 by 4 grid, this one is a 4 by 5 grid. And in my head, I thought, okay, 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm gonna actually have the spreadsheet do that for me. Now, I can't just go there and type 4 times 5. What am I missing in my spreadsheet?
Equals.
Equals, yeah, you gotta do equals first, because if I just type that, it's gonna say, hey, yeah, there's 4 times 5, it's 4 times 5. Okay, if I want the answer, I gotta go equals 4 times 5, and the asterisk symbol above the 8 on your keyboard is multiply. And it says, okay, 20. It asks me if I want to autofill. I do not here. Okay. So what do we think the 10th one's gonna be then?
10 by 11.
It's gonna be 10 by 11, yeah. So each time, the answer was whatever stage I'm at, and then one more than that for the height. So 10 times 11. And I forgot my equal sign. And so there should be 110 in there. Now, I mentioned as far as patterns go, I can't just fill any pattern I want. So if I go off to the side here and I make a new column for the number of squares, if I start with the 2, the 6, and the 12 that we saw in the picture, and I try to use that magic autofill button, it's not gonna work because these aren't the same distance apart. It's gonna do some weird stuff. So those definitely aren't the answers I want next. So we gotta use that autofill button cautiously. Some things I might note in my notebook here is the stage is always the base number of squares, right? Stage 2 had 2 squares at the bottom. Stage 3 had 3 squares at the bottom. Stage 4 had 4 squares at the bottom. Okay. So if I wanted to write a formula, and to write a formula, I need a variable, so we could use the variable n again. Then the formula would be n times what? Okay, so the question is, how do I describe this second number knowing the first number? So if I have a 2 here, how do I describe to somebody to get a 3? If I have a 4 here, how do I tell somebody what the next number should be?
Would it be the diagram we're using? Like as an example, like would it be number 3?
Yeah, so I can tell in the picture what to do, but I want to write a formula to do it. So
Oh, no.
You get what I'm saying, right? So n, right? If somebody says, oh, n equals 13, then for the number of squares, I would say, okay, put a 13 down because n is 13, and then multiply by something. How do I describe what the next thing is to multiply by? If n is 4, how do I get to 5?
Plus
N is, it's plus 1, yeah, it's plus 1. So what plus 1? Well, it's n plus 1 is what I multiply. Okay, so I'm going to check that out here. This is my n right there. The next thing should be n plus 1. And so literally 13 plus 1. And it's important to note that I do need parentheses here because I need to say 13 plus 1 is 14. and then continue with the multiplication, okay? So n times n plus 1 with parentheses is different than not having parentheses. I won't get the same answer. So I'm just going to double check that on a calculator. Spreadsheet is a calculator. So here, if I type 4 times 4 plus 1, it doesn't give me the right answer. What I meant to say was 4 times parentheses 4 plus 1, and then it does give me the right answer. Okay, so parentheses mattered, realizing that one of the numbers was n, the stage, and the next number was n plus 1. Okay? And sometimes figuring that out comes from experience, having done something like that before. Okay? So it turns out I could write a formula so that no matter what number you plug in, it pops out the answer. So I'm just going to do that down here. So let's throw 13 in there just for fun. And then the formula should be equal to whatever stage I'm at times parentheses, that same stage, but plus a 1. And so that if I replace the 13 with like a 3, it'll do the right calculation for me and say, yeah, there should be 12 squares there. Or if I put a 10 in there, enter, it'll recalculate for me.
But you
so
are
that,
going to record this, Mr. Parker?
Yep,
Thank you.
it will be recorded. All right, so I'm going to pause the recording there.